All right. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone?
Hey, I'm Chamaine Brooks. I'm a family physician in Pembroke, North Carolina, which is my hometown.
Okay, cool. And we've known each other for like
We've
almost.
known each other for probably 6 years. We met in Florence when I was starting my residency at McLeod in Florence, South Carolina, and
Okay.
now it's been almost 6 years.
Okay. So, as a doctor, a physician who works obviously in the medical field, I wanted you to kind of talk about how your relationship with the Lord has affected maybe some of the relationships you've had with other medical personnel and other physicians.
Oh, okay. Well, in the medical field, there's a big variety or difference in faith beliefs, faith systems, I would say. So there's definitely people who are like-minded, fellow Christians in the medical field, but plenty of different beliefs or literally atheists or those of no belief. And you really learn that a lot of people are very bold and very verbal about their beliefs, and especially as it relates to specifically taking care of their patients. And they try to sometimes, if they're different, they try to put their faith out there as far as, how can you believe a God when they try to argue that science argues against God?
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing to me is that, we can be taught the same thing in medical school or college about anatomy, about biology, but everybody comes to a different conclusion at the end of the day. I look at human anatomy or microbiology or cell biology and come to the conclusion that there is a creator, there's a designer of it all. There's a creator of DNA, for instance, and I mean all of that. And others may look and say, or just argue against any faith as if it's a human, man-made religion, and try to say that medical science is contrary to belief in Christ, which I don't. I think it's synonymous. I think it's together. And so I've been sometimes surprised about people, but in the day have had to learn how to be respectful of other people and their beliefs and not let it hinder me from speaking up what I believe, and been able to share my faith with my patients at the end of the day, and hopefully let my faith guide me in how I actually choose to practice medicine and take care of my patients.
That's really cool. So, how has your faith in the Lord directly affected the way you take care of your patients and your interactions with your patients?
I try to look at everybody the same or equal. So I often try to pray, Lord, give me love for people the way you see people, because sometimes people come in looking all different sorts of ways and different attitudes, and it's easy to really enjoy certain patients and not others. So I try to have a heart to love everybody, treat everybody the same, to try to take care of everybody equally in their individual needs. I try to be very positive, encouraging to patients when they come with maybe chronic diseases like hypertension or diabetes or even depression, and try to give them hope and encouragement in taking care of their disease and not have such a fatalistic viewpoint sometimes. Because sometimes it's really mind power, your mind's ability to overcome things, and spiritually deciding to get better and you deserve to be better sometimes really can help you. And then there's patients who maybe they're suffering a terminal illness, maybe they're dying, maybe they're on hospice, who are going through a rough time, or maybe you're talking to their family member, their caregiver, who sometimes really need a lot of compassion, end of life, and they're searching for answers, and you're able to share your faith, and you're able to ask them about the Lord and see if they also are Christians, and that sometimes really brings a smile to certain people's face. I find if they are Christians or even not Christians, they really don't mind talking about their faith at the end of life. So in that area, you really can impact others. They're coming to get not just medical advice, but they're really just getting. I try to give life advice and share love with them. And then there's a population of maybe teenagers, especially teenage girls, I find, who are very sexually promiscuous, for instance, and I try to use that window of opportunity for teenage girls to not just give them medical advice, on healthy sexual behaviors, and really give them, I think, spiritual advice and how they don't really need to be having sex anyway, and talk to them about how, God designed their body and their brain to not to have to deal with frustrations or complications of sex when they're just not ready for it. And I really have not had anybody to, I guess, to be alarmed or to be upset with me. They all seem to, you know, think I'm being respectful or hoping the way I'm discussing or having a conversation with them about the Lord, you know, but I'm hoping I'm making a difference and maybe planting seeds, because I never know what maybe their parents are teaching them or what their background they are, and
Right.
maybe what their friends are teaching them. So I'm trying to hopefully plant good seeds or what have you, even at work with my patients. And it even comes down to how you treat your staff and the nurses or what have you, how you treat your other coworkers. Sometimes things can get kind of frustrating, and you have to try to treat people the way you would, Christ would have you treat them. You know what I mean, at work. So it can get frustrating sometimes, but you try to do the right thing. You know.
That's good. That's good. And I'm sure you are making a difference, girl.
So.
Back to the point about how you talk to the girls about God's plan for them and how they're special. I know you're 31. You don't look 31, but
hair curl, I look younger.
You're so silly. But would you talk to these women about how, for a while, most of our relationship that I knew you were single. And would you just share a little bit about that?
Yes. I would say that, I was blessed or fortunate enough to be raised in a Christian home at that time. Growing up as a child, as a preteen or teenager, my parents taught me about the value of a Christian marriage, for instance, and even attending college. I was active in a college ministry where I was taught a lot about godly relationships and not just dating casually, but courtship towards marriage. And so I already had priorities of dating one day a Christian man and finding folks to date that would potentially be a mate for me and not wasting my time, if you will, knowing that I like to hopefully spend time with someone who would be a spiritual leader in my home, someone who agreed on physical boundaries in dating or what have you. So that really meant that I didn't date a lot. So I've only had now 2 boyfriends, and I'm 31. So I didn't believe in just casual dating just for fun, but really intentional, purposeful dating.
Good. Have you ever faced a challenge where your faithfulness to have those convictions could have been compromised, or you saw, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There was this one time that you're aware of when I was a few years ago, but when I kind of got involved with somebody, I don't even know what the label was. It wasn't really a real relationship, but still I was involved with somebody who wasn't a Christian, actually. Mm-hmm. And it just became a tangled web, and I knew from the very beginning that it wasn't what God wanted from me. It wasn't His will. Mm-hmm. But things took place, and we spent time together for a period of time, and I knew the Spirit was prompting me that I needed to end that relationship, that it wasn't what God had for me, that if I would have pursued that relationship, God's it's full abundance what a married life should be like, and marrying a Christian man and what that would entail for me wouldn't be there, and I'd be basically settling and not really experiencing God's will for my life and what I prayed about, what my parents had prayed about, for my life. And, had to give that up and walk away from that relationship or what have you, what it was. And then the Lord, actually blessed me through that. And it was actually a tough time at one point, but I just remained faithful that one day He would bring me the right person in my life. I didn't have to hunt for Him, but He would, find me. And, now I'm actually in a relationship. Actually, I'm in an engagement right now. Just got engaged a few days ago. Mm-hmm. Several months ago, met a man who actually went to my church for several years. I just didn't know him, but met him, and it was just amazing how God provided for us, or just how God's blessed our relationship. He's also a Christian man who wants to glorify the Lord and seeks after God's will, and also believes in intentional dating, and we were so compatible. It was just perfect, how we both just waited for each other, and now we're engaged in planning our wedding, or more importantly, planning our married life together, and the Lord's just blessed us, and we both tried to be faithful during our adulthood and are waiting to our 30s to get married, but waiting for each other and knowing that God's going to bless our union together,
That's awesome. I'm so excited. It's really, from my perspective, it's really a blessing to see your faithfulness and your courage to remain faithful to the Lord in the different circumstances, even when it seemed tough, even when you couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, there were definitely times I wondered, oh my God, when am I going to find, when am I going to find this right man, and when is he going to come along? And just wanted to have that type of relationship, because I saw other people finding good relationships or getting married, and wondering when it was going to happen, but just knowing that if you just wait on the Lord's timing, things work out in His timing. And it's just funny looking back how the timing of even me and my fiance now getting together was just perfect. I can't imagine it happening any other time. I feel like I wouldn't have really, really been ready, even if he would have pursued me a year or two earlier. You know, so the Lord taught me a lot, even in the time that He first noticed me, by time it took for Him to notice me and to, I guess, ask me out, if you will, during that time. I know the Lord was working on me, and the Lord was working on him to one day be the husband and wife He's called us to be,
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing with us and your openness and your faithfulness. And I love you, and I hope I get to see you soon. Okay.
I hope you ladies enjoy your conference. Me and Christina's been great friends, and you are a treasure to have her. She's a jewel. And I love you dearly, Christina.
Thank you so much, hon. All right, bye.